Okay, what is up? Friday, September the 16th, 2022. Appreciate you all tuning in. Chris Phillips here, the Daily Crow, the Spurs Up Show. I do apologize for some of the confusion in regards to our live video setup that was scheduled. I had to create a new stream, if you will, something I don't know. Melon just it seems like on a daily basis. Muschamp Packers play around with us. Maybe it's just this week. I don't know. Either way, appreciate you all tuning in. What's going on? Noah Johns, Jeff Gulledge, Stephen Borwell Jr., Gad, Cocky Talk. Gad, I'm getting back to your email, by the way, my friend. I'm not ignoring you. We will make sure we get your merchandise out to you. Chase Orvin, DC, Brennan M., Erting, Irie, what's going on? Appreciate y'all. Billy Thompson, what is up? Justin Housen, what's going on, my friend? Appreciate you tuning in as well. Got a packed show, lot to get into. We got my good friend Jake Crane of Crane and Company also joining on the show. Zachary Thompson, Cody Gaskins. Hey, 24 hours till kick. I'm fired up. If you listen to the podcast, you can tell I'm fired up. 24 hours until toe meets leather. 24 hours. I'm excited. I'm pumped. Anyways, guys, we are here taking your questions, comments, calls, 843 790 3377. That's 843 790 3377. I do want to hear from you again. Jake will be on with us at 12:15. So if you want to try to get a call in, you can do so. Also, you're in the Big Cock Club. Head over to the TDC Questions channel. The TDC Questions channel, to be sure that your questions are answered there. Hunter Rhodes says, what time does the tailgate start tomorrow? Great question, Hunter. The tailgate gets going 8 a.m. 8 a.m. I will be out there at Seawell, Spot 78. I invite everyone to come out. We're going to have a fantastic time. A lot of fun. We'll have koozies and towels for sale. We'll also have koozies and stickers to give away for absolutely free. My good friend Dallas over at A1 Air Quality Consultants. They got some koozies made. Their logo on one side, our logo on the other. They're really, really sharp. I'd show you one, but they're actually in the car. Maybe during the break, I'll go grab a koozie and show you what they or show you guys. Excuse me, I can spit it out. What they look like. But we'll have koozies and towels for sale. The Beamer Ball towels, the Beamer Ball Welcome Home koozies, also the free koozies from our friends over at A1 Air Quality Consultants, and the Beamer Ball stickers that I'm sure you guys have seen on social media. So again, really excited. We'll be out at Seawell, Spot 78, 8 a.m. is when we'll get going. And of course, kickoff is set for noon tomorrow at Williams-Brice Stadium. Guys, want to hear from you. Jake Crane joining us at 12:15. If you want to try to squeeze in a call, I have dropped my prediction. And by the way, you're in the Big Cock Club Discord over the TDC Questions channel. And I saw my guy, yes, Craig Phillips. I saw Craig in Target. How about that? Out in old Simpsonville. Craig, great to meet you, my friend. I know it was kind of quick and my brain was sort of scrambled eggs yesterday when you saw me, but great to meet you actually in person, my friend, for sure. Always great to meet you guys. Guys, before we dive any deeper, I do want to tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks, because the Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Today, I promise later today, I will be dropping my Prize Picks play of the weekend. My buddy P-Dog's crushing it on Prize Picks. Rags to riches, right? We were talking about it last night. But Prize Picks, the name of the game. And again, you're betting on spreads, over-unders, totals, futures, what might have you. Prize Picks, the way to go for all of your prop plays. Guys, there is a lot of money to be made with our friends at Prize Picks. Go download the Prize Picks app. Go to prizepicks.com. When you do, use the promo code TSUS to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. And again, you can bet on everything and anything, prop plays with NBA, NHL, MLB, NFL, of course, and of course, college sports, which is why we love it. But literally anything and everything you can think of, everything from pass yards, rush yards, touchdowns, interceptions. I mean, literally everything you can think of. So again, that's our friends at Prize Picks. Go download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. And when you do, use the promo code TSUS to receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. Be sure to check them out and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. Anyways, my good friend Jake Crane, I think he's actually he just hit me up, going to call in today. He is going to call in today. Let's see. Yeah, he will be calling in today instead of doing video. I don't know what Jake is doing. Either way, whatever. It's all good. We just appreciate Jake taking time to come on the show. DC's got his prediction locked in, 42-21. Georgia whoops our ass, he says. Listen, I dropped my prediction, 41-10, and it's going to bother some people, right? It's an ugly score prediction, no doubt. I am hopeful and optimistic that it can be much, much closer than that. I guess what I'm doing, guys, is I'm making a pick and sort of setting my expectations low. That's what it is. It's not that I don't think that we could hang with them and lose by 14, lose by 7, God forbid, even win the game. But just realistically, guys, game's not played on paper, for sure. But you got to pick. You got to make picks. Excuse me. You got to make picks based off what you know. You got to make picks based off or at least what you've seen. What you've seen. And what we've seen to this point has been a team that can't run the ball and can't stop the run. And I know Georgia, we're looking at them as a pass-happy football team right now. Here's my thing. How do you stop Georgia? Like what is the game plan defensively? Where do we feel like we have the advantage that we can attack Georgia on the defensive side and win more often than we lose? I just don't see it. I just don't know. I just don't know where it is, So. Let's see. Joey says a lot's going to depend on who was listed as questionable and who actually plays. That's a great point, Joey, because I tell you what, if R.J. Roderick and Cam Smith especially, like if some of your top guys on the defensive side can't go, I mean, it's just going to be – it's already – even if those guys play, it's already a tall task. But there's one thing guaranteed. There's one thing guaranteed about tomorrow, that the Shane Storm will be felt at Willie B. Guys, again, appreciate you all tuning in, man. I'm fired up. I'm fired up here on this Friday. Excited to chat with you all. Excited to get back into Columbia. I'll be there later today. Excited for kickoff tomorrow. TGIF as well, man. We go into the weekend. A lot of great college football this weekend. I guess it starts going tonight with Florida State and Louisville. Florida State and Louisville get going tonight. Got a lot of great SEC games tomorrow. Of course, capped off with that nightcap. Capped off with the nightcap of Texas A&M and Miami. Would love to hear you guys' thoughts on the SEC. What do you guys feel like this weekend with the games? Anything stand out to you? Any game you're looking forward to? Anyways, Gamecocks, Bulldogs, noon kick. Going to be fun, man. Going to be fun. Again, excited to chat with our friend Jake Crane of Crane & Company. I want to say this, too. Thank you so much to all of our guests this week. Stephen Garcia, Alex McGrath, Anthony Treesh, and J.C. Sherbert, and then, of course, Jake Crane upcoming. Thank you to those guys so much. The immense value they've brought to the Daily Crow on a day-in, day-out basis. Having these daily guests has been incredible. Also, being on with Mark Rogers, the voice of college football. Being on with Michael Bratton, that SEC podcast, SEC Mike. It's been a very successful week in regards to that and spreading the brand and being able to go on these shows, all these talented creators, and talk ball. And I just want to say I appreciate them coming on my show. I appreciate them having me on their airwaves, and excited for more of that in the very, very near future. Let's see. Craig Phillips in the TDC Questions channel, he says, do you think it hurts Satterfield being on the field calling plays, or should he be up in the box where he can see the whole field instead of relying on other coaches to tell him what they see? I mean, here's the thing, Craig. I don't know, because I've never been an offensive coordinator, right? I feel like that's something I would hope he can figure that out on his own, right? Like, I don't think he needs me to tell him what's better than the other. Like, you're the OC. You've been a football coach. Like, you shouldn't need me to tell you what's going to work and what isn't. You know what I mean? I will say this. I asked JC about it yesterday, and we posted the clip, actually, of his reaction on social media. I am really curious to get the reaction from Jake Crane because, again, Jake knows football. He coached it. I'm curious to get his thoughts on what Marcus Satterfield had to say in regards to the offensive scheme, or at least what his goal is for the offense. Because, again, J.C. Sherbert's convinced that it's just completely impossible. And I listen, I do tend to agree with him. I mean, I saw some people commenting just saying, well, they did it under Spurrier and give him some time to recruit. And again, I don't think JC was saying that you can't recruit really good linemen here. Look at what they're doing in the class. But can you stack up enough to have an identity where you're living in 12 and 13 personnel, huddle up, run 58 plays per game? Like it almost like it feels like it has to be a smokescreen. Because there's just no way. Run for 275, throw for 220. That can't be right? That can't, I don't know. My guy, Eric Reese Creative, dude, thank you so much, man, for the help with the graphics. Y'all go follow Reese Creative on social media, by the way. Dude does work. What are the uniforms? Eric, I got no idea. We've heard no sort of uniform leak this week. Nothing. So I got no clue. If I had to guess, I think it'll be big game garnet. I'd assume they'll go white garnet, but you never know. They might go something different. I mean, so you never know. Courtney Washington, what's going on? Appreciate you tuning in. What's up? Thomas Walker, South Point against South Florence, going down in Florence tonight. Okay. Big high school game. Yeah, we got high school football tonight. Forgot about that. High school football going on tonight. Really, really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. Let's see. Guys, phone lines are open, 843-790-3337. We should be having Jake Crane calling in just a moment. I believe he will jump in at 12:15. But again, really excited to talk with Jake, get his thoughts on what happened over the weekend against Arkansas and the game upcoming this weekend. But I tell you, I think Jake called it pretty well. I know you guys give him a lot of hell. Here we go. Our friend Jake Crane of Crane & Company. Jake, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Chris, what is up, man? I'm out here at the driving range about to play in this golf tournament. So T-minus about an hour till I get pissed off.
Okay, I got you. I will be mindful of your time, my friend. I appreciate you doing this, whether it be via video, calling in. Hey, it is always a pleasure to chat with you. And we'll go ahead and just dive right into it, Jake. First things first, before we get to the Gamecock side of things, what a weekend of college football it was. I saw you after week one say that was the best week one you'd ever seen. I tell you what, week two did not disappoint with all the craziness and the madness and the upsets and the Sun Belt just deciding to flex on everybody last weekend. It was a wild weekend of college football, to say the least.
Definitely. And I wonder, I always go back and forth because I'm like, all right, we don't get college football for so long. Am I just thinking this is the best week one ever just because we haven't had it? And like, is it the same thing with week two? But going back and looking at it, man, like we talked about it last week, if you're just a fan of football, the range of outcomes, I mean, you had upsets, you had beatdowns, you had great finishes. And yeah, man, the Sun Belt. And it's funny, everybody talks about the App State win, and they should, and the Georgia Southern win, and they should, and the Marshall win, and they should. But James Madison, in their first year in FBS, is 2-0, beat a Middle Tennessee State team 44-7 that went on to beat Colorado State on the road. Then you have South Alabama went up to Central Michigan and beat down the Chippewas, who dropped 44 on Oklahoma State the week before, and Southern Miss gave Miami a run. So, as far as the Sun Belt goes, they got game day this weekend. It's been a heck of a ride so far.
The Sun Belt truly is the fun belt this year, I guess you could say.
100%. And look, I'm a South Alabama alum. If you look at these group of five schools, the teams that are leaving the American, the Sun Belt right now has positioned themselves very, very well, and they've done it over a considerable amount of time.
For sure. Jake, it's funny, man. You and I were texting, obviously, last weekend because we're going to talk a little bit about that Arkansas game before we dive into what's going to happen tomorrow. But you and I were texting last weekend, and obviously, as the game started, Arkansas goes up 21-3. You reach out to me like kind of told you so type deal, not like rubbing it in my face, but to our audience, because I think you and I both saw this thing very clearly for what it was and the mismatch, if you will, in the trenches. And I mean, you look back at that game, 295 yards rushing for Arkansas, about 63 or something when you take away the sack yardage for the Gamecocks. I mean, it really was just as simple as, like you mentioned, if you cannot run the football and you cannot stop the run, you're going to get your ass beat. And, I admire the way the Gamecocks were able to resurge and come back in that game. But in my opinion, it never really felt like a game that I felt like South Carolina was going to steal, just because you knew every time Arkansas touched the football, they could run the ball if they wanted to, and that is a demoralizing feeling.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. And look, South Carolina showed a lot of fight. Obviously, when you play for a guy like Coach Beamer, you're going to play as hard as you can. But it goes back to what I was saying, even in the offseason. Okay, and there's a long way to go. You never know what can happen. But I got absolutely roasted by South Carolina fans for just making the observation that maybe the personnel, and not your first 11 on offense and first 11 on defense, but your first 60 isn't good enough to do the things you want to do with that schedule. And I know fan is short for fanatical. Everybody thinks their team's going to win. But do you kind of start believing me now a little bit after seeing what happened on the offensive line? Now, I will say, Chris, I thought they pass protected for Spencer about as well as they could. But if you can't run the ball outside of running the air raid, pass protection really doesn't matter. So Arkansas was able to run it. South Carolina wasn't able to. Another point that I was making was about depth, basically the same thing. It is a battle of attrition to get through the SEC. Great example, South Carolina loses 2 starters on defense in one game. You haven't had enough time to create enough depth for that not to be a huge issue. And we're not even into the 3rd week of college football, and here's your reward for losing to Arkansas. You get to play Georgia. Okay, so at the end of the day, it comes down to depth. It's not your first 22, it's your first 65. And that was the point that I was making. I was trying to get South Carolina fans to understand. Now, they could right the ship, and I could be totally wrong. But it's really looking like 5-7 or 6-6 right now, if you ask me.
Yeah, I want to ask you too, Jake, about Arkansas. How do you feel about them? I don't remember what your preseason projection or prediction for them was, but I don't know. I've seen some Gamecock fans try to discredit. Well, we just didn't play well. Arkansas is not all that great. I completely disagree. I don't know if they're a 10-2 good, but I think when you're talking about the conversation of who's the 3rd best team in the SEC, I think you have to strongly consider the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yeah, they were my pick for the 3rd best team in the SEC. I had them going anywhere from 10-2 to 9-3 with a tough schedule. I mean, this team has to go play at BYU as well. So on top of an SEC schedule, that's a nightmare. They're out of conference isn't a walk in the park either. The thing about Arkansas, I worry about the secondary a little bit because there were some throws in the first half that Spencer missed wide open guys down the field. He overthrew 2 of them where the receiver had literally created about 3 to 4 yards of separation, and it was a walk-in touchdown. I think they're a good team. I worry about the amount they run KJ Jefferson. He already looks beat up, and we're a couple weeks in. But the best part of their offense is utilizing him in the run game, and then when he improvises on 3rd and 8, breaking the tackle and making the throw or taking off and running the guy over. I don't know how long they can play that style while KJ is healthy. They got the Hornsby kid, who's a really good runner as a backup, but he can't do what KJ does. So I do think Arkansas is the 3rd best team in the SEC right now. I have Tennessee as my 4th. I'm not buying Kentucky like everybody else is right now. It was a great win. I'm a huge Mark Stoops guy, but I think Kentucky may be a little bit of fool's gold right now.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Kentucky, and we will we'll see what happens. That's going to be a huge game, obviously, in Lexington. You talk Spencer Rattler. Let's move to him because you look at the numbers, 376 yards passing, but still an imperfect day from him. You miss early on some of those deep throws that most certainly could have changed the game. Jake, it's hard for me to come down on Rattler when I just – the story of that game should be the fact that you can't stop the run. That, to me, should be it. But, when you lose by 14 and, everything is going to get nitpicked, and certainly those throws early on, they're obviously throws you have to hit because, as you know better than anybody, Jake, in SEC ball, you're going to get a handful of those opportunities every game. You might only get like 2 or 3. You might only get 1, and you got to hit it. You just have to take advantage, especially when you're on the road in the SEC against high-quality competition. Those are just the plays you have to make. Just talk about what you saw from him, his performance again. The numbers, when you just look at them first glance, don't look all that bad, but obviously still a lot left to be desired for him.
Yeah, well, this is why you don't just look at box scores. I mean, a stat, I tweeted this yesterday. Looking at stats is like watching a movie trailer. It'll give you a good idea of what's going on, but it doesn't tell the whole story. For example, in the second half when Arkansas got up, they started rushing 3 and played an umbrella coverage, dropping 8. They were going to give Spencer everything over the middle. Where were a lot of those passes completed? In the intermediate to catching the intermediate and running after. There was a couple that were completed down the field, but a lot of those yards, Arkansas was going to make South Carolina go 8, 9, 10 plays to go score because that's going to eat clock. I don't really like that theory on defense, but Barry Odom's always done that. So a lot of those passing yard numbers are a little bit distorted. You have to look at when the game was a little bit tighter, when Arkansas wasn't playing that umbrella coverage, but you end up with 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Now, I know Spencer's talented. He's got arm talent. He makes throws sometimes. I'm like, goodness gracious. So, like, the dude is unbelievably talented. He does seem to be going through his progressions a little bit better this year. But what I'm looking for the most out of Spencer is body language. And to this point, I think he's been pretty good. I made it a point when it was going bad, I was going to watch him. When it was going good, I was going to watch him. And it's been hard to tell when it's going bad and when it's going good. And that's what you want out of a quarterback. It's just like a pitcher. They should never know if you're 10 runs up or 10 runs down. So I've been happy to see that with Spencer. But without a run game, it's hard for me to come here and say, well, Spencer Rattler's the problem. Spencer Rattler really isn't the problem. It's the personnel around him. But Spencer hasn't been able – he almost has to play perfect. He really does when you're not able to run the ball like that. And that's too big of an ask. Do I think he's this elite guy that everybody thought he was? Said he was the Jordan Rogers, said he's the number 2 quarterback in the SEC. No, bro, not even close. Will Rogers is the number 2 quarterback in the SEC. But Spencer's a good player that can help South Carolina, especially next year when they add some more depth and Shane keeps recruiting like this, not only in high school, but in the portal as well.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to, Jake, to your point. And I remember the conversation that highly scrutinized by Gamecock fans, but was very real, the combo that you guys had with David Pollock. And, him saying, you're going to take a player from Oklahoma when he's surrounded by, 5-star talent, and he's going to come to South Carolina and be better without all those 5-star players around him. So, yeah, I mean, it's to your point. You know what I mean? There's more left to be desired, but he has to get help. You know what I mean? Every quarterback, that goes for everybody. Like nobody can do it alone.
Yeah, well, Chris. Yeah, that's why football is the ultimate team sport. Right. If this was basketball, one guy can take over a game and win you a basketball game. In baseball, you can have a pitcher go up there, throw a perfect game. All you need is 1 run, or you go get 18 hits, or one guy goes 4 for 4 with a grand slam and a 3-run home run. Football doesn't work like that. The closest football's ever gotten to one guy being the whole team was Cam Newton, because there wasn't another offensive player on the team that started that played 1 NFL snap. Let that sink in. That's the closest we're ever going to get.
Jake, kind of an interesting question. Jeff, I want to shout out Jeff Gullidge real quick. He just dropped this in our comments. There's been a lot of debate about, I've thought since the beginning that Spencer Rattler was sort of a quote-unquote one-and-done guy at South Carolina. His goal was to, come here for a year, go to the NFL. Do you think there's any possibility that Rattler's back in Columbia next year?
I think there is. I think there's actually a strong chance of it. I'd be surprised if he left, because if you look at the draft boards right now, there are a lot of guys, even in the SEC, even in the SEC East, that are ahead of him right now. Hendon Hooker right now is ahead of Spencer Rattler. Anthony Richardson right now is ahead of Spencer Rattler. Hell, Stetson Bennett may end up winning the Heisman. Now, Stetson isn't playing in the NFL, but right now, I mean, look around the rest of the East. Missouri, Brady Cook, mid, that's not something. Vanderbilt, Mike Wright, he can run really well, but so does my washing machine. When it comes down to it, Spencer Rattler right now is in the middle of the East when it comes to quarterback and draft ability. I think he needs 2 years at South Carolina. I think it'd be a really good look for him to come back with good personnel and have a big year at South Carolina, which I think they could have in 2023.
Yeah, it's interesting. That'd be wild. That would be absolutely wild, because I guess I just had it in my head he's going to be one and done, whatever. But you're right. I mean, if he doesn't like where he's going to go in regards to his draft stock, why wouldn't you come back and develop your game? So, on the defensive side, Jake, before we move off of Arkansas, I don't know that there's really a ton to address there. Again, it's kind of the proof's in the pudding, and they were able to run all over you, and it's only going to get tougher. Only going to get tougher with the Georgia Bulldogs. But like you mentioned, man, just losing Mo Cabo, losing Jordan Strawn, the depth issues. And you look at the numbers right now, and it looks really similar to last year, where, last year you were top 10 in the country in pass defense, but you were like 100th in run defense. This year right now, I believe you're 15th in pass defense, but you're literally 129th in stopping the run. It feels like deja vu.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, again, why would I sit here? You're not going to give up a ton of pass yards when everybody's running it down your throat. I again, those two things can go together. Sometimes that yardage given up can be misleading because maybe the week before you played a triple option team that didn't throw it. Now your yards per game given up went down a ton, even though how much better are you at defending the pass? Look, at the end of the day, it's about players, okay? You can talk about play calling. You can talk about culture and all that stuff is very important. But typically, the team with the best players and the most good players that play the most discipline wins the game. That's the trick. The hardest part is getting the players there. It's a lot easier to develop them and breed a winning culture when you have really good players because you start winning and then good players want to go play for winning programs. So it comes down to depth. And guess what? Now you play Georgia. You don't walk away from Georgia healthier than when you walked in.
Speaking of the Georgia Bulldogs, Jake, let's talk about them. What have you seen from Georgia thus far this year? I think a lot of Gamecock fans this week are just hoping that maybe, Oregon's vastly overrated and maybe Georgia's not as good, but the number one team in college football. And you look at them, and they ain't missed a beat from last year. Stetson Bennett's been on a tear, playing like the best quarterback in the SEC, over 300 yards passing his first 2 games. Again, you look at that defense, hasn't given up a touchdown for the second straight year. The Gamecocks enter this game looking to be the first team of the college football season to score a touchdown against the Dogs. Just talk about Georgia first, and what have you seen from them? And I feel like from my vantage point, Jake, they are yet again one of the elites of college football.
Yeah, unless you guys are sending Liam Neeson over there, I don't think you have a chance. This Georgia team, while they're a little bit different than last year, I think they're more balanced. I think they're a more balanced team this year than last year. Last year, it was like, you know what? We're beat up at wide receiver. Stetson's at quarterback. We have a once-in-a-lifetime defense. Let's just play it close to the vest and see if we can't win one. And they did. This year, Stetson's got nothing to lose. He's already a hero. They could lose every game, and he's still one of the few Georgia quarterbacks that have won a national championship. Now you have those guys back healthy at the wide receiver position. You didn't have a ton of turnover in the offensive line. You've got Milton, McIntosh, and the rest of the aliens that Georgia has running around in the backfield. And then on defense, all you did was return a couple guys and then add guys underneath the greatest defense that Georgia's ever had, who learned from the Kobe Dean and Jordan Davis and Trayvon Walker. I mean, Jalen Carter's as good as anybody out right now. Nolan Smith is an absolute monster. I don't know if Georgia's going to cover, but it is going to be a physical, bloody war. And they played their starters against Stanford. You'll look at that Stanford score and be like 33-0. Maybe Georgia's overrated. No, Georgia had the game won and they took all their good players out. It was basically a bye week, and they still didn't give up a touchdown. Georgia is the class of the SEC so far. I still have Bama second, and I don't see anybody getting close to Georgia right now.
I mean, Jake, I don't know if people realize this, but that Georgia-Samford game, there was a running clock in the fourth quarter. They agreed to that before the fourth quarter
they
started.
They played a jamboree against Stanford.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, Georgia did what they wanted to do in that football game. We'll start first defensively for the Gamecocks, Jake, when you look at this game. Again, it's weird. I was asked this earlier this week, and it almost made my brain melt because somebody asked, do you have to, if you're the Gamecocks, do you have to sell out on stopping the pass? And I'm like, do you realize how poor we've been stopping the run? And I feel like that's been trying to stop the run. I don't want to see what it looks like if we're selling out to stop the pass and we got a 3-man front, we're sitting back. And so I would ask you, I mean, Georgia obviously still, I feel like Georgia's bread and butter is what it's always been. Run the football, big physical team. They're going to be nasty in the trenches. If you're the Gamecocks, you're Clayton White, how would you attack Georgia, a team that I feel like, I mean, I look at them across the board. It just feels like they have no weaknesses.
Yeah, well, I do a little bit of what Texas did. I would manipulate the front all the time. I would run center bunch, even though that's a dangerous game. I would blitz. I would try and confuse Stetson, but I wouldn't sell out for one thing. I would match personnel, but if I had to pick one thing to stop, it'd be the run. Stetson beat me through the air, which he could do, and if you want to sit there and man, it's probably going to be a long day. But I would much rather you beat me with Stetson Bennett's arm than Georgia getting in 12 personnel and you just running power and counter and inside zone down my throat. Because to me, that's the most demoralizing thing. And that's what Georgia's going to try and do. Georgia's going to try and bully South Carolina. They're going to try and get a lead early and then sit on the ball. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to make Spencer Rattler. If it's me and I'm playing South Carolina on offense, all I'm doing is getting up in your face. As the DB, I'm going to keep the box even, and I'm going to make you beat me on the outside. That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to be able to sit in that pocket and bide time, which I don't see South Carolina being able to protect them. You're not going to get a 3-man rush all the time like you did from Arkansas. They'll pin their ears back and come get you. So really with Georgia, do you want the fast death or do you want the slow death?
Such an elegant way to put it, my guy. But, to your point.
It's the truth. You want death by 1,000 cuts, or do you just want them to chop your head off at the beginning?
Jake, trust me. I appreciate the hell out of the truth that you bring, because I do just the exact same, and I don't want anybody to sugarcoat it. I was going to say, though, I agree.
Well, it's like I said, listen, if I was trying to make everybody happy, I'd sell ice cream.
I've actually stolen that line from you a couple of times. I hope you don't mind.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
I tell my players that all the time.
Yeah, I feel the same way. But I do agree with you, by the way, on the defensive side. I think, again, you have to sell out to stop the run, because if you can run the ball at will on your opponent, it really truly is just a demoralizing thing. I mean, it's so demoralizing for the defense. You mentioned offensively, if you were Georgia, what you would do. I want to ask you about this, by the way. And I asked J.C. Sherbert of the Big Spur about this yesterday, and it's just been something that, I think is really intriguing. And I think it might be a smokescreen. I have to believe it is. But the Gamecocks offensive coordinator, Marcus Satterfield, I mean, it's no secret that he's on the hot seat this year after you finished last year 116th in offense. And that just naturally is going to come with it, right? And the start to this year has been somewhat of a mixed bag. I mean, obviously you still can't run the football, but he was asked this week about what he wants the offensive identity to be. I mean, that's something through the first 2.5 weeks or so, 3 weeks of this season, Jake, we have just been hearing over and over. Fans are frustrated because they want to know, what is the identity? And I don't blame them. So Marcus Satterfield was asked about that, and this was his response. He said, quote, "We're going to do whatever it takes to move the ball and score touchdowns. What would I like my identity to be? I'd love to be in 12 or 13 personnel, huddle up, run about 58 plays per game, rush for 275 yards, and throw for about 220. What are your thoughts on that comment? Do you think that is reasonable at South Carolina? And just overall thoughts on what Marcus Satterfield had to say.
Well, eventually, yes. I mean, you got to get the offensive line in there. I think he was kind of talking about the future more than this year. Look, if you don't have good enough offensive linemen, it doesn't matter if you run the triple option, if you run the air raid, if you want to get in 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 20 personnel, stay in empty, go to quads, whatever you want, it's not going to work. So regardless of what you want your identity to be, until you have offensive linemen in there that are quality enough to be able to win some of these battles against some of these teams that you're going to see every year, those are just words. Like right now, no, you can't do it. You can't run the ball, unless you got a tight end room like Georgia. And look, I know Jaheim Bell's a good player and Stogner's a nice player, but they ain't got what some of these other guys got at tight end, including Georgia. So again, I don't think Marcus is wrong. I think he's telling the truth, but a lot of people will take that to mean, I think, this year, and they just don't have the cats to do it. So, look, the best coaches are the ones that are the most malleable. You can't play with the players you want. You got to play with the players you got. Whatever adjustment you make needs to be tailored to what they do best. If that means you need to get in 10 personnel and throw it around and do things like that, then do it. If that means you feel like you can get in 12 personnel, or if you don't think the wide receiver groups are good enough, then do that. But at the end of the day, you've got to play to the player's strengths. And right now, South Carolina's just not playing with a full deck.
And with that being said, Jake, yeah, like you said, you got to play with the ones you got, not with the ones you want. With the ones you got, I don't think that this is the week where all of a sudden the run game starts to click against the Georgia Bulldogs.
No. And look, Marcus Satterfield's a lot of things, but he's not a witch. Like, you can't just wave a magic wand and be like, we have a first-round guard.
Right.
Like, that's not how it works. Nobody gets that good that fast. So, again, play calling is the most overrated thing when it comes to football. There's a lot of great play callers that look like idiots because the players aren't good enough, and there's a lot of absolute clowns that look like geniuses because they're rolling around with NFL players all over the place.
So you think that the criticisms that fans throw to play calling is vastly overrated?
Yes, I think it's unbelievable. I mean, I've been in it. I've seen it. Like, a lot of people run a lot of the same stuff. That's what people don't understand. Watch. You will see 90% of teams run split zone. 80% of teams run stick and sail and shallow cross and poco and stuff like that. What it comes down to, really the way you get people is you out-formation them and you out-leverage them. And it's about matchup. That's what it's about. The most important thing about play calling is protection and matchup. That's what it comes down to. It's not, I should have called Dino when I called Poco. Or, man, we should have run counter there instead of power. Well, You know what your job is to? It's to give an illusion. An offensive coordinator is a magician. He's showing you something you think he's going to do while he's doing what he wants. That's what makes an offensive coordinator good. It's formations over play calling. It's players over play calling and formation.
I'm so glad, Jake, that we got on that and you brought that up because it's literally an every week thing for this Gamecocks fan base.
Well, it's an easy out, Chris.
Yeah.
It's an easy out.
It is.
Oh, the play calling isn't good.
Yeah. It's much easier.
Well, okay, that's great.
Yeah, it's much easier and much more comfortable for people to blame the play calling versus saying the players that we have just are not good enough to execute the scheme in which we are trying to run.
Yes. Now I will say this. If I was South Carolina, I'd do a lot more check with me stuff. I'd get up there, I'd line up, I'd fake snap it, look to the sideline, and then get the play call in. That's the way you can kind of play games with them. And when you don't have the personnel, that's the way to kind of find the matchups and motion people. Yeah. You check with me in motion because most of the reason you motion people is to find out if the defense is in man or in zone. Because I'll give everybody a little hint. If you motion a receiver on one side and that DB falls into the other side, guess what? It's mail time. You just figured out Blue's Clues. They're in man. So that's why you do stuff like that. I think people don't know football enough when they criticize to understand really what they're seeing. There's a lot more that goes into it other than just we need to run the ball better. I mean, we need to pass the ball better. Well, my goldfish could tell you that. Like, it's again, there's levels to it.
So, Jake, obviously the Gamecocks are at a talent deficit tomorrow in this game when they line up against Georgia, offensively taking on their defense. So how would you combat that? If you're the Gamecocks, do you spread it out? Do you try to get Spencer Rattler going in the passing game? Like, how are you attacking this Georgia defense?
Well, I'd find somebody on campus that knows magic. I mean, that's really about the only way. Do you know anybody that knows magic? Because I don't see a way.
I do not.
Regardless of what you do outside of playing with 12 or find Dumbledore or Gandalf or somebody that can help you, that it's really going to matter. But again, I would go check with me. I would mix up tempo. I would try and confuse them with looks up front against Stetson. I would show pressure, back off. I wouldn't show pressure. I would bring it. I would show pressure. Then I would bring it. You just got to be a mixed bag. You got to try and force them into mistakes. That's your only shot.
Jake, before I get you out of here, man, actually two more things because I do want to talk about this SEC slate. Let's start with that. The SEC slate, what games you looking forward to? I know obviously Texas A&M, Miami tomorrow night. Your Auburn Tigers. I say your Auburn Tigers. I don't want to pin you as like you're some Auburn homer, but you're an Auburn guy by trade.
Well,
Auburn,
I mean, we're all fans of somebody.
Right. For sure. I don't want to unfairly because I feel like you're like me. You're a level-headed dude. Anyways, Auburn takes on Penn State. Got some really intriguing games this weekend. Which games are you keeping your eye on in the SEC?
Well, Auburn and Penn State, Auburn's roster is, for lack of a better term, absolute trash right now when it comes down to it, outside of the running back room and a couple spots on defense. But Jordan Hare is basically a voodoo Indian pet cemetery, burial ground. So Auburn will find a way to win that game. Mississippi State and LSU is unbelievably intriguing to me. This Mississippi State team is very interesting. I want to see how consistent they can be because that's been Mike Leach's problem. Looking around the rest of the conference, South Carolina, Georgia, don't think it's going to be close. There's not really a ton of games that I'm looking at, and I'm like, man, this is one we definitely got to check out. But, outside of Auburn, Penn State, Mississippi State, LSU, I kind of want to see, again, Alabama's playing La Monroe, which, funny stat, the last time I think La Monroe went to Bama, they beat them, which is weird to say.
Wild.
But
weird
there's
times.
not a ton, but, yeah, outside of it, I mean, BYU, Oregon. I tell you what, Florida State, Louisville tonight. I opened the show today at Crane & Company talking about Florida State. This is a chance for them to show they're a little bit more relevant than what everybody thinks because they looked unbelievably organized against LSU, and they made LSU make the mistakes as opposed to FSU making the mistakes. So how will the progression of Jordan Travis continue? Will he continue to be an efficient thrower? We all know that he can run. The rest of the weekend slates, man, I mean, it's a pretty good week 3 when you look at it. So those are some games that I'm looking forward to.
Jake, before I get you out of here, let's just have some fun, right? Because I've dropped my prediction for this game. I'm not sure if you saw it right before we came on. 41-10. I've got the Dogs. I think if you're betting on the Gamecocks plus 24.5, I think what you're betting on is that the Gamecocks ones will score a late garbage touchdown on the Georgia 2s and 3s because I think they will be in there. And that is just a realistic taking no garnet glasses. That is a realistic view of this football game and the matchups and everything else. But let's just have some fun. Hypothetically, let's say Dumbledore does somehow stumble to Columbia. Like, what is the recipe for what would probably be the upset of the college football season?
Yeah, Georgia'd have to get lost on the way to Columbia. I don't know another way.
Spend the week at Buddha
I think
Bar,
Georgia
right?
wins
Spend the week at Buddha Bar in
yeah,
downtown
like
Athens.
there would have to be some huge like FBI thing that involves 75% of Georgia's roster or something. I don't know. But look, I think you're looking at 38-13. That's what I think you're looking at. I think somewhere around there. I think it's going to be right at the 25. I actually like South Carolina. I bought them up to 28.5 at like minus 160 on DraftKings. So I feel good about that, but it smells like 38-13, 38-16, somewhere around there, because there's going to be some field goals by South Carolina.
Right. Jake Crane of Crane and Company. He joins us every single Friday. And Jake, I just want to say this, man. I really do genuinely appreciate your, refreshing, realistic perspective. You don't care about feelings. You just care about facts. And that is why you and I get along so well, my friend. I appreciate it every single Friday, chatting with you, and we'll do it again next week.
Definitely, Chris. Well, you know me, how much respect I got for you, man. You've done a great job. The show's looking great. And, I do work at the Daily Wire, and at the Daily Wire, facts do not care about your feelings. So, I'm about to go out here in this golf tournament and see how many balls I can hit in the woods and how pissed I can get. So I appreciate it, man.
Sounds like a hell of a Friday, Jake. We'll talk soon, my man. I appreciate you.
All right, buddy. See ya.
Take care. Great stuff, man. Jake Crane. Love that. Let's give Jake Crane a freaking round of applause. I love that. I love that. See, it's funny, man, that there are people in this, I call it this industry, whatever. There are people that try to do what I do that, they only want to be surrounded by conversations that make them feel warm and fuzzy inside and that align with their opinions and align with what they think. In regards to the banter and the opposite and the opinions that may ruffle feathers, if you will, I run towards that. I like a refreshing, realistic perspective. And listen, Jake Crane is not giving an unfair take. He has no slight against the Gamecocks. He has no biases. He calls it as he sees it, and I respect the hell out of that. So, Jake Crane, I appreciate you, my friend Jake Crane at Crane and Company. Y'all check him out, tune into his show. Jake does a fantastic job. And in case you've missed this before and that was your first time hearing Jake, Jake is a huge, huge fan of Shane Beamer. Huge fan. He believes in Beamer. He believes Beamer is going to be the guy down the road. But, this year, again, you got to play with the guys you want or have, not the ones you want. That's it, bottom line. So, we'll go out there and play with the ones we got. All we got is all we need, right? But I just don't know if all we got is good enough to beat the Georgia Bulldogs. I don't think it is. Guys, we're going to jump into a quick break. But on the other side, hey, let's get into your questions, your comments, your calls, and more on the other side of this break. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Okay, right. We have audio. We had no audio that entire thing. You didn't hear a single word I said. Anyways, hey, appreciate you all tuning in. We are back taking your questions, comments, calls. I apologize. I don't know what happened. Technology is great until it isn't. Either way, would love to hear from you all again. Really excited to get back down to Columbia. Game tomorrow. Going to be a little bit of good time. I apologize for the technical issues. I have no clue what happened there. I was just talking and you guys weren't hearing anything. So really good stuff. Chris Miller, let's jump back into your questions. I just don't see us going 8-4. If we do, I'll be hella happy. But going 5-2 from the Kentucky to Clemson stretch is a tall task. Going to take much improvement. Again, guys, you don't want to jump ahead. These next 2 weeks after the Georgia game are going to be really interesting in regards to just making content and talking about it, because you got Charlotte and SC State back to back, and I mean, you're going to be expecting to beat both of them thoroughly, right? You better. But I think it's going to be a really important 2-week stretch for Gamecocks football. In regards to figuring out who you are, what you're good at, what your identity is. Let's see. Alan Vaughn says he just called Seawells. Grilling is allowed in our space. I'm parking with the Spurs Up Club. Spurs Up Club. Love it. The Big Cock Club, my guy. Yeah, Alan, you can grill for sure. You can grill for sure. Austin Greer. Yeah, that DM was crazy. I don't know. It's wild. Timothy Farmer, do you think South Carolina Gamecocks are going to be good tomorrow against the Georgia Bulldogs? I'm hoping so. I'm hoping. And again, I want to make it clear. I want to make it clear because I've locked in my score prediction 41-10 Georgia, and that's a big score. That's a big spread. That's a big score. I was a little over optimistic last week, even in picking a loss. I picked a 6-point loss. I was a little over optimistic last week. I am admittedly going into this game a little bit more conservative, right? I'm a little more hesitant to pick a close score, right? But I'm hopeful. I mean, listen, I'm hopeful that Georgia is not on their A game. Georgia plays their C-, their D+ game. Stetson Bennett's turning the football over. Football's on the ground a couple times. I think you're going to need a defensive touchdown, defensive and or special teams touchdown, right? Spencer Rattler's got to have the game of his life. Line of scrimmage has got to do something it hadn't done all year, which is play well, right? So I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. It happened in 2019. It's not impossible. I'm hopeful that guys like Antoine Wells, Josh Vann, DeCarrion Joyner, all these guys step up, play well on the outside. Xavier Legette, Jalen Brooks, just go down the list of all the guys. Lady Bree, the comment about, I think I saw the formation video. Let's see. Chris, I uploaded a video on my channel about the formations. Not sure if you can use it or if there's a way to get me in live to do it in here. I will check on that. Excuse me. I don't know why I come on here. I got a frog in my throat every time. Never happens on the podcast. I don't know why that is. Yeah, I will try to look at that, Lady Bree. I'll try to look at that. Anyways, guys, phone lines are open. 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. Austin Greer says 2022 Georgia would beat 2019 Georgia by 30. I do, Austin, I do tend to agree with you. I think Georgia's much, I mean, they're just, I feel like they're on a different planet now, you know what I mean, than they were then. So we'll see. We'll see. We will see. But, yeah, you're going to need a lot of things to go your way. You've got to start fast, no doubt. That's one of my keys to the game. You've got to start fast. You can't afford to get down 21-3, 24-3, like whatever. You just can't do it. You can't do it. Georgia will put their foot on your throat and they'll keep it there, and they will not let you come up for air. So, listen, I've got my fingers crossed. I'm hopeful. I would love to see nothing more than, like I told you guys, if you can lose by 14 or less, I think it's a successful day. I mean, the no moral victories crowd will go crazy, but it's wild. I tell you this, because for those that follow along, it's kind of like what Jake Crane will say. I relate a lot more to a Jake Crane than others in the quote unquote industry, because, like, for example, Jake Crane is an Auburn guy, right? By trade, he's an Auburn guy. But when you think of him, like he's a national analyst and he gives the opinions and the takes from a national analyst viewpoint. That is how I approach things. Guys, I'm a Gamecock by trade. I'm a fan, but I don't call things based off of how I want them to go or how I want them to view. I call them based off of how I view them and just how I feel like they are. I'm not always right. Sometimes sometimes I miss, right? Sometimes when I'm talking ball, we miss on predictions all the time. We miss on certain things. But I that's why I can appreciate a guy like Jake Crane. I appreciate his realistic viewpoint. I choose not to live in some fantasy land when it comes to, South Carolina football or just my favorite sports teams or where they are. So I think we are well on the way. So when it comes to this whole moral victory crowd, like I'm not saying throw a parade, as I mentioned yesterday. I'm not saying throw a parade if you lose by 14 points. That's not what I'm saying. But it's about having a realistic expectation and understanding of where you are, right? Georgia's they're on a different level than everybody. They're on a different, like if I was giving you week in, week out projections or predictions for Georgia, like scores, bro, they'd be kicking everybody's tail. Everybody, not just Carolina, everybody, right? And again, I am optimistic that we can cover the 24.5. Like I said, admittedly, I went a little more conservative with my pick because I was, over optimistic last week, right? So, I do believe we can cover plus 24.5. I do not think the Gamecocks can win. If you're coming here looking for that, for those takes, if these two teams played 100 times, I think Carolina maybe would win once or twice. Maybe. I mean, ESPN gives you an 8% chance. So if you just want to go off of that, you'd win 8 times out of 100. Now, maybe this is one of those times. Maybe. But it will take Georgia playing their worst game of the season. Bottom line. If Georgia plays their best game, it doesn't matter what you do. And again, as I've said all week, that's not an indictment on South Carolina's football team. I picked this as a loss in the preseason while also picking you to go 8-4. But Georgia's on a different level. It is more of a tip of the cap to Georgia and what I think of them as a football team versus me saying, well, the Gamecocks are just terrible. I mean, they're going to go 4-8 this year. But if Georgia plays their A game, there's only one team good enough in college football to beat them, and that's Alabama. So you need to bank on the Dogs. If you're going to pull some crazy upset, you need the Dogs, like in 2019, to just not play their best game. You need Georgia to come out flat. They need to be sloppy, turning the football over. That's what has to happen. You're not going to beat them just lining up mano-a-mano and, you're just not going to do it. So. Lady Bree says, moral victory is not what we need. We need to put on a good show and push for a great show for the recruits. Is it possible? Sure, but winning is not, and moral victories aren't the prize this year. Well, and Lady Bree, listen, I'm not saying like cling to it. I'm not saying go brag because you lose by 14 points. I'm just saying like it's okay to be encouraged by progress. Don't let folks tell you otherwise. Like it's okay. It's okay to play a Georgia and if you lose 24-17, say like we made progress. This season, in my opinion, before it ever started, that's what it was about. Because hey, you went 6-6 last year in the regular season. 7-6 with a bowl win. Great. You got blown out against everybody that had a winning record practically. This season, okay, you could go 7-5. You could go 8-4. You could go 8-5 with a bowl win, 9-4 with a bowl win. But did you really make progress if, let's say in your 5 losses in the regular season, let's say there were Georgia, A&M, Clemson, let's go Tennessee, and we'll go Florida, Kentucky, whatever. Or Arkansas, excuse me. I didn't even mention Arkansas, who we've already lost to. Did you really make progress if in those 5 losses or 4 of those 5 losses or even 3 of them 5, you got your doors blown off? I mean, it's about how you win and lose, in my opinion. It's about are you being competitive? Are you making strides? Hey, you want to impress a Nicholas Harbor? You don't have to win tomorrow. You just need to show him we're going the right way, right? We're getting closer. And I'm not even saying if you get blown out that it's going to deter him from coming to Columbia, because I'm sure Shane Beamer's having very real conversations with him behind closed doors and is saying, hey, we're not where we want to be yet, but you can help us get there. Yeah. John says, show him. Here we go. John Rice, show him we need him. John, I think whether that's the plan or not, I think he's going to see that we need him. Right. So, but anyways, it's kind of as JC was talking yesterday, and I would tell you guys too, Nicholas Harbor is more so going to be impressed by the game day atmosphere, the pregame festivities, 2001, like, you know what I'm saying? Sandstorm. That's what's going to stand out to Nicholas Harbor. The final result, I mean, it's a bonus. It's a bonus if you could win. It's a bonus if you could play them close, but that's not swaying a kid's decision, in my opinion. Chris Miller. I mean, this is a real take. If we lose 31-24 and it's a good game, it'll definitely help the fan base morale. 1,000%. 1,000. I'd love nothing more. I'd love nothing more. Yeah, dude, that'd be incredible. And what's crazy is, like, what you don't realize, like, dude, you will gain national respect. No doubt. You will gain national respect. John says if we lose 31-24, it'll kill the fan base because it was within reach. So John, you'd rather lose 50-0. That's what you're telling me. You'd rather lose 50-0. I'd rather it be close, but you'd rather lose 50-0. Let's hear it. There he is. Robbie Davis, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Appreciate you asking. What's going on?
I just wanted to say that even before you said it, I agree with you. When a recruit comes to look at your school, right?
Mm-hmm.
All they're going to be looking at is, how is the atmosphere here on a game day, right? What's the crowd going to be like? What's the student section like? All that stuff. Now, and I also agree that if we somehow play Georgia close or pull off the upset of the year, okay, that's just icing on the cake, okay? And I also agree with, I think that it's going to take a minute, but right now we just don't have the horses for the horse race, I guess you could say. Georgia has the horses and we don't. And they have the pieces and we don't. And it's probably not going to end well. Like I said, my prediction is 42-20, okay, which is probably more than anybody else is going to ever give us, okay? But we need to control what we can control tomorrow. And like I have said, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face like a Smurf, Chris, make them earn every damn yard. Yes, our run defense is trash, but at least at the moment it's trash. Okay, but make them understand that yes, we may not be that good right now, but we're on the up, and we're going to make you earn every damn yard that you're going to get in this football game. If we can somehow turn it into a, no pun intended, dogfight, like I've said before, I don't know. We still have to play the game, but I just don't think we have the right pieces right now. And like you said before, and you said today, help's coming. It's just not here yet.
I agree. I mean, you heard Jake Crane talk about it, man. It's again, you got to play with the guys you got, not the ones you want. It's no disrespect the ones you got, but the ones you got ain't good enough to beat Georgia in normal circumstances. Now again, maybe tomorrow we see abnormal circumstances, but I don't think that's something you can predict or you can bank on. That's just something you can hope for, right? But as my good friend Alex McGrath once said, hope is not a strategy. You have to have it, but it's not a strategy. So,
yes, exactly.
So we'll see. I mean, again, I think progress can be made tomorrow. That's all I really want to see is positive progress. We covered the spread and we're able to move the football a little bit on Georgia and show a little bit of life defensively, force a turnover or two. I had 35-17 in the preseason. I'd sign up for that score right now. And again, people don't like to hear it because we've fallen so far from where we were 2010-13 when I was expecting us to beat Georgia. 2014 even, I was expecting us to beat Georgia. I remember 2014, the Gamecocks being a 9.5-point underdog. Don't ask me how I remember, but I just do. We were like a 9.5-point underdog, and we beat them straight up. We're not there anymore. We're 24.5-point underdogs for a reason. So, but hey, why not? Let's shock the world. We did it in 19. I'll tell you this, and I'll just leave it at this. After losing to Arkansas and the way this week has gone, dude, an upset over Georgia would be what this fan base so desperately needs.
If we somehow pull off the miracle and beat Georgia, I don't think Columbia would exist anymore because there would be a party going on all over Columbia. Okay? Columbia would burn down and it wouldn't exist no more. And I also just found out that my brother Chandler will be at the game tomorrow because someone surprised him with tickets to the Georgia game, so he'll be there tomorrow. And like I said earlier this week, I'll wake up tomorrow ready to go and cheer on the Gamecocks, doggone it, till the game is over. I don't care if it gets ugly fast. I'm gonna watch it till it is over because the game is never over until it is over.
I mean, technically, Robbie, a game is not over until the clock hits zero.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I just forgot to mention that. But anywho, yeah, I will. I'll do that, and then also my dad has a show tomorrow night. I think in the Florence area tomorrow. I just can't remember the name of the place where the show's going to be at. But yeah, so if you're in Florence and you're listening to the show right now, once I find out where, I don't know if he's already posted it or not, but I think it's somewhere near Florence is where his show is going to be tomorrow night. But yeah, I'll I'm ready for tomorrow. So.
Same here, Robbie. Can't wait. To hell with Georgia.
To hell with them. Don't give them any kibble. Let them starve to death. Don't give them any bulldog kibble. Let them starve to death.
So I'm assuming you'll be watching the game at home, correct?
Right. But and just a reminder, I will be at the game against State.
I will be
at the game against State. Yes, against the
other Bulldogs.
South Carolina State Bulldogs.
The other Bulldogs.
Yes. But but yeah, that's all I got. You have a great rest of your day, and have regardless of what happens tomorrow, I hope you and everyone else listening and in the live chat has a great weekend.
Robbie, I appreciate you, my man. Always a pleasure. You the man.
All right. Thank you, buddy. Have a good one.
Yeah, man, you too. Take care. Great stuff. I just learned that the game's not over till it's over. Game's not over till it's over. Yeah, Jeff Gullidge points this out. Let's do that. How about the extra 12 minutes of coverage ESPN doing before kickoff? That is awesome. That is awesome to show 2001, the pregame festivities. I think that's incredible. And, people say ESPN hates us. I don't know about all that. I think that's cool. I think that's really, really cool. Get to show off. Again, it's great for recruiting, obviously, get to show off Willie B. And again, game day atmosphere and environment and everything else. That ring light getting in my eye there. Anyways, 843-790-3377, guys. It's 843-790-3377 as we sit here on this Friday. To hell with Georgia. That's where we sit. To hell with Georgia. That's it. Bro, this ain't NCAA 2013. On that note, by the way, if you go by that, the simulation right now is 2-0. And you might recall in the simulation, we did beat Georgia. We also then almost lost to Charlotte. So there you go. That sounds about right? We literally needed like a touchdown, like a minute left to beat Charlotte. So, hey, you know what, though? I'd take it. Give me a dub over the Dogs. I'd take it in a heartbeat. Let's jump to the phone lines here. Here we go. Bree, what's going on? How are you?
What's up, Chris? How are you?
I'm doing well. Just hanging out. What's going on?
Beautiful day today. Yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Nice weather.
Weather's been incredible. I will say that. Weather has been absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So I, as we had talked about, I ended up, I had the notes on the Arkansas game, and as I was reviewing those, and doing that, getting ready for that presentation I did yesterday, I realized, really watching it and studying it, that I felt like Marcus Satterfield was really coming up with his offensive identity for the Gamecocks. I have a visual aid of that. It's I uploaded it to my YouTube. If we could have got something set up earlier, I have to get some Wi-Fi out here. I'm in the sticks right now. I could have maybe done something with you guys live or whatnot. But there is a video on my YouTube about it. It's about 20 minutes in length. But it basically defines all the different formations that were used. I show it with chess pieces and how we went from 5 wide to 4 wide to 3 wide sets, moving through the ace formation, the I formation, and shotgun sets. And basically, what I identified out of that is Jaheim Bell might be, because we've been trying to figure out where that guy goes. Basically, he's a fullback right now. By what I'm seeing, he could be used very well as a fullback. It's not his natural position, but they could line him up in the backfield. He can block from the backfield. He can go out for passes from the backfield. But he can also, go from the backfield and go up on the line as a tight end. You can shift as a fullback, right? You can come out of formation from the backfield, and you see that regularly. A fullback moves over, to chip block on the corner with the tight end or something like that. Well, he's already a tight end. He can go out into the formations and go wide. He's almost a receiver, right? He's got a weird build. He's a little small as a fullback, but he's a little tall as a fullback. He's a little small as a tight end, but he's a big receiver. So that's why everybody's, how do you utilize that guy? But I think at the fullback spot, he can rotate a lot. Now, out of those formations, those guys are going to be able to use the personnel. And the personnel grouping was what was really interesting to me that Marcus was using, because he would come out in a 5 wide set, but he would put 2 wide receivers in. He would have both of his tight ends, Stogner and Bell, in, and then he would have 1 running back. When they went into tempo, they could shift into any of those different formations. And that might meant leaving Jaheim Bell out wide, bringing Stogner to the tight end position, and bringing a running back into the backfield, and they still had the same personnel that they had as a 5 wide set. So they're going to be looking to keeping Stogner and Bell in the game as much as they can, because those are 2 great athletes. Rotating your receivers, obviously you're running back some as well, but using formations that Stogner and Jaheim Bell can just kind of rotate just a little bit. They can move off the line, onto the line. You can move Jaheim into the backfield, get him coming out of the backfield. Jaheim's going to have to block, though. He can't just be used to run with, and he can't just be used to pass with. They're going to have to use him sometime as a blocker, as a distractor there. You know, it's like something you hand the ball off 3 times to the running back. You know, one of those times might go to Jaheim Bell, you know, and that just like a fullback would be. You know, you get everybody looking at the running back. Now you can hand the ball to the fullback. He's been in the backfield several times, never got the ball. Boom. We've also seen, you know, guys from the, you know, in the fullback position that slide out of the backfield and catch small, what ends up being like a little small pass, a little dump off pass, but then it's exploding down the field. And Jaheim Bell's well set up for that. You know, you get him coming out of the backfield, he angles around the O-line, around the line, comes back out in front of the quarterback, you know, and then boom, he's right there in the center of the field. He slid out, nobody saw him. He could run a seam from out of the backfield, go straight down the field. We're like, we need to see Jaheim Bell more vertically. He can still do that out of the backfield. I think this is where he's going. I think this is where Marcus Satterfield is going. I can't say for sure. Hell, I'm not in his coach's room, but I really just watching his formations and how they went into tempo and how they flowed with their personnel, how they utilized the personnel was very intriguing. And it took me really watching the game several times because, you know, I can't see who's on the field every play. I had to slow it down, go and look, you know, like, okay, I don't have all the angles they do in the coaching room to see how the plays were going. You know what I mean? But I had to really slow it down, go back and look, and I was like, okay, well, they were 5 wide, but they only had 2 wide receivers. Right. They had 2 tight ends on that formation. They had a running back in on that 5 wide formation, and then they shifted immediately into a 4 wide or a 3 wide with a tight end on the line or Jaheim in the backfield. All those things just shifted in and out. They can shift it from the shotgun sets right into an I form set or an ace set and still run virtually the same play, but have a different look. So it's going to be very interesting because I think he's found a way to keep his offense simple, but add a diversity to it and move his pieces around that he's going to need to move, like Jaheim Bell, you know, and how do we get all these explosive playmakers? How do we get the ball in their hands? I think he's figuring that out. Now, I will say if he's got it figured out by tomorrow, hey, that could look really good. But I still think it's going to take them getting to Lexington before they're comfortable with this. And I'll be able to give you a report next week and see if I'm right. See if the formations and the offense continue to developing in that route. But that's what I'm thinking. Jaheim Bell is going to be coming out of the backfield a lot. We can use him as a blocker. We can dump off on screens and things like that as well. There's a lot he can do coming out of the backfield. Initially, I would say, hey, we got to get Jaheim out of the backfield. That's not working. But I see where he could stay in the backfield, utilized properly. And he certainly can't be that every time he's in the backfield, it's a handoff to Jaheim. That's just not going to fool anybody. Yeah. So, but I think that's where Marcus Satterfield is feeling. I think he's got kind of a spread offense kind of thing going on, to where he's going to balance it with some draws, some sweeps out of like 2-back sets from the shotgun. There's a lot of interesting things he can do. I showed a lot of those potential plays and stuff in my videos. So if anybody goes to tune into that, you'll see like the ways that the running back and Jaheim might move out of the backfield while he's back there. So, but I think that's where it's going, man. I wouldn't have thought of Jaheim Bell as a fullback preseason, but the way he's playing him, he's starting to look like that.
For sure. No, I mean, I think that you're seeing kind of like that H-back type of using him like that H-back, like you saw at Oklahoma. That's what I'm trying to say. I couldn't spit it out. But, you know, I think we can all agree, if nothing else, 0 catches for Jaheim Bell last week. That can't happen. Just cannot happen.
No. And I think he's going to figure that out in between. So I think he's going to go back. He's going to look at the play footage. I think he realized he missed some opportunities that he maybe should have ran the ball a little bit more. But I honestly think, and that's what I was mostly harping on. I think he found his formations and how he wants his offense to flow. I think he figured that out last week. I think that was the big reason. I felt like he was very confident in his post game interview, you know, or whatever, not the post game, but on like Wednesday or whatever, he did the press conference. he seemed very confident about what he had achieved in that game. Even in a losing effort, he felt good about what they had done and just kind of maybe had this realization like, dang, man, I left a little bit on the table by not calling enough running plays. I think our offense is going to be, you know, a 60-40 split, maybe a little bit 65-35. Definitely going to be pass heavy, but he's definitely got to find that balance with the run right there, you know. But it's going to be pass heavy. He's going to do the runs coming from, like I said, these two-back sets and things coming out of shotgun, sweeps. That's what I noticed was a lot of sweeps. And guess what? Actually, where we were thinking our guys were better getting to the perimeter, our guys did better running between the guards and the tackles. And Georgia actually, from what I saw from their Oregon game, that was the one spot where they were letting the runs open up was through the guard and the tackle. So we'll see, you know, if that plays out into the Georgia game.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw, I think Oregon ran for like 149 yards or something in that game. So, I mean, listen, maybe you can get it going. I'll be really curious to see, especially what that first drive looks like that'll be scripted by Satterfield and just kind of what type of adjustments they make. But, you know, I mean, first things first, of course, always fantastic analysis from you, Bree. And I mean, really, just truly, it's, you know, you know your stuff very well, for no doubt. But I will be curious to see. I mean, it's Georgia's not exactly the opponent you want to go up against, trying to find your identity and what works and what doesn't. But it's a great challenge. It's a great test, and you know maybe you can get it going. I don't know.
I don't think this week's going to be good for working on it. I think they're whatever they have coming into the game tomorrow, he's going to have to play it as he has it, you know, and then try to continue developing it next week and the week after to be ready for. Once again, I keep coming back to that Lexington. I feel like Lexington, if he's got that together by then, if our defense can show that they're going to hold up, the season could be wide open by the time we get there. If we do great there, you know, after that, you know, after Lexington's when we're going to really know. I just tomorrow's not it. I mean, he might surprise us. They might have it together. I just don't think we have enough depth. The biggest thing. And, you know, unless we can control the pacing of the game some, have those big plays, you know, plus the offense has really gotten it together by then. We just don't have a lot of chance tomorrow, but I'd still see a big season. You know, the more I look at it, Chris, you know, the possibility of a 10-win season's there. You know, if we perform really well in Kentucky, I would go as far as to saying, that's a possibility. I think we just edge by Kentucky and we edge by a few more games this year and we have that 8 or 9 win season max. I mean, but that's where I'm still at. But hey, the possibility. So, you know, because Coach Beamer doesn't like that negative talk. You know, I look at possibilities and I say, hey, there is a possibility if we get it together by Lexington. If you got those formations down, if the receivers, the backs, everybody understands these formations and how fluid they are, by the time we get to Lexington, that can be that can be a super explosive offense. I mean, that's certainly the potential for that offense to be extremely explosive.
I mean, it's the possibilities that keep us going. I mean, to your point, Lady Bree, I talking about 10 wins, hey, from your lips to God's ears, but I picked 8-4 in the preseason, and I picked this obviously as a loss. So I mean, it's very doable. I
have it as a loss too.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that, you know, and I said this over the summer that I thought the Kentucky game, while it wasn't the most important game of the season, I thought it was, and it's going to be. I think it's setting up to be obviously the greatest inflection point of the season in the sense of if you are going to overachieve, win 7, 8, God forbid more, Kentucky's a game you have to win. You lose to Kentucky, you'll go into the bye week 3-3, 0-3 in league play, and you're really going to be staring at fighting to get the 6 wins. So that opportunity is there, though, for sure. But obviously, you know, I'm excited first to see just how we match up against the Dogs. And I know the matchup's not great, but, you know, again, I think even in a defeat, if that does happen, I think you can draw a lot of positives and continue to make progress. And we knew it was going to be a lot of new pieces early in the season and guys trying to figure everything out. And Satterfield's trying to figure out how to use certain guys. And again, it's a process. It's a long season. Hey, we saw it last year. We saw this team come on in the season late, wins over Florida and Auburn. So maybe you have another big second half in line, right? Especially if you can beat Kentucky and it sets you up to maybe you can, finally knock off a Texas A&M at home, or you can beat a Tennessee, or you can beat a Florida, or what have you. So maybe you can beat a Clemson. Obviously, I picked that as a win over the summer as well. So, yeah, tomorrow will be interesting for sure, but it's all about
You
just
did
making
pick.
continue.
You were the one that picked Clemson. That's right.
I picked us to beat
keep
Clemson.
To ask you. I was like, I'm pretty sure Chris beat us to beat Clemson.
I did pick us to beat Clemson. Yeah, I felt like by that point in the season, I will say this: I picked us to beat Clemson. I thought the line of scrimmage would be much improved, and I'll say this too, though. I've been really harsh on them, obviously, and I think it's been justified. I mean, you look at the numbers, but the matchups have been so bad these first 3 weeks. Maybe the line of scrimmage isn't as bad as we think it is. Maybe the matchups have just been that poor. Like, I guess we won't know for a little bit, right? Because, I mean, we're going to run all over Charlotte and SC State. I mean, you'd certainly hope so. God, you'd certainly hope so. But maybe later in the season, that O-line and that D-line is a little bit better.
I only worry about a bottom. My biggest concern coming out of that Charlotte SC State back-to-back games is then going into Lexington and being flat because we played two easy teams in a row. Now we got a tough road game.
Yeah, I mean, I like to look at it more. The reason I picked Kentucky as a win in the preseason, I mean, outside of I think Spencer Rattler is going to outduel Will Levis, and I do think Kentucky's a bit of fool's gold. I think they're a little bit overrated, but as Jake Crane was saying, but no, I mean, I think that I think actually those 2 weeks could be really good for you. And obviously, again, like you mentioned, you got to be mentally sharp and know how to handle it and take care of your business. But dude, I think having 2 weeks to build some confidence and not really be up against a really quality football team, because even Georgia State was just like, I mean, that wasn't your just, casual opener, if you will. So to have 2 weeks against competition that you should be able to gain a lot of success and gain a lot of confidence against, you should be primed, in my opinion, and set to pull off that win in Lexington. I just feel like from that mental standpoint, you should. I think it'll be beneficial. That's, again, another reason I picked you to beat them and start 4-2. And, we'll see if it happens, obviously. But, again, first, this game against Georgia, man, I think it just go a long way to play them close. It's about how you win and lose. And, I'm not saying if you get blown out tomorrow, like, the Beamer era, you're not making progress in year 2. But, man, like, there's a lot of teams across college football that come into games as big underdogs and they compete and they make it close, and they're not supposed to win, and they still make it close. Like, why can't we do that? You know what I mean? Why it's I certainly, I mean, I picked 41-10. I'm going in the game with low expectations, but I sure as hell ain't going to be happy with that result. Like, I'd like to see a 38-24, 35-20. Like, let's give them a fight. Let's make them sweat, make Georgia earn it. And, we'll move forward from there. I mean, there's going to be no shame in losing to the defending national champions and the number 1 team in the country, but just make them earn it. Just make them earn it. And, again, continue to develop this football team. And it's really about, you're right, though. It's really, you don't want to look too far ahead, but it's really about gearing up for that game against Kentucky.
Yeah, I think so. But here's my hot take for you. I'll get off the phone. Here's my hot take for you for tomorrow. You're going to love this. We win tomorrow because we've been embellishing an injury to a key player. Instead of actually being hurt, we've been hiding them. Tomorrow, the DK comes in, he starts at quarterback, and we destroy Georgia.
I love it. What
Spencer's going to sit the bench. Spencer's sitting the bench tomorrow. DK's coming in, and we're going to triple option them to death tomorrow.
per sources. Let's start the rumor. Per sources, it's happening. Per sources.
All right, Chris. Well, have a good one, man. Good luck tomorrow to everybody. And once again, be safe. It should be a great day.
I appreciate it. Look forward to talking with you again next week.
All right. Have a good one.
Absolutely. Take care. Appreciate it. Great stuff as always from Lady Bree. Very, very well thought out insight. And I would definitely say Lady Bree is on YouTube. Lady Bree MMA Fighter on YouTube. Go check out the video. It's 22 minutes and 39 seconds long, titled How I Think Coach Satterfield Finding the Offense's Identity and Where Bell Fits In. I would highly suggest you check it out because obviously Lady Bree knows football, knows ball, knows this offense, knows the Gamecocks, and is a huge Gamecock fan as well. Guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into another break, but I want to continue to hear from you more, your questions, comments, calls, and more on the other side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Taking your questions, comments, calls. 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Appreciate you all tuning in. Content is bleeding out of the eyeballs here on this Friday. TGIF, folks. I'm so happy you're all tuned in. So pumped for kickoff. Really looking forward to it. Cannot wait to be back in Columbia. Sold out. Sold out. Sold out, Willie B. Atmosphere should be incredible. A later, by the way, kickoff, right? Let's see. Let's jump into the questions here. God. Whew. David Barnes. All the injuries in the secondary, do you think we see Lavassier Carroll move back to DB? He seems to be buried in the running back room. So it may be in his best interest to switch positions. I don't know. I mean, I guess if they need him, right, they would do it. I mean, if they need him, they would do it. But, you hate to think we might have to do that, right? You hate to think that. But, if depth becomes a concern, I mean, he has played the position, right? He has played the position. He's capable. We know that. We know that he's capable. So maybe it does happen. I mean, you just hate to see, obviously, R.J. Roderick might not go. Cam Smith might not go. David Spalding, I think, was another one that may not go. So, yeah, you're up against it. I don't know why. I don't know why the injuries. It's just bad luck, I guess. But Kaba Strawn being out for the year, all these questionable guys. Corey Rucker ain't taking a snap yet. I mean, it's tough, man. It's tough. So, I don't know. Let's see, guys. Kickoff in less than 24 hours. Jeff Giller says, no, he'll be competing for RB1 next year. Caden Gibson. It still amazes me that Lil Turbo has gotten in-game reps and Lavassier Carroll has not. I mean, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I mean, as I told you all before, I mean, listen, Lavassier Carroll, obviously a very highly regarded player out of high school, and maybe, I don't know, maybe there's reasons, but, Georgia had him at DB. So, I don't know. I don't know where he fits in, really. So I think it's just going to be another heavy dose tomorrow. Christian Beal-Smith and Marshawn Lloyd and Juju McDowell and, trying to figure it out from there. I don't know, man. I don't know. So how do you attack the Georgia defense and with which running backs? Lady Bree says, I don't do predictions. I do possibilities. I don't have us winning, unfortunately. If we get more stuff or get this stuff more together, it will be a great game. If we don't, it'll be bad, bad, bad. Thomas Walker, it's those darts during breaks. Now, I had a snack during the break, and I don't know, just got me a little bit. Travi says Van and Dak have been non-existent. Well, again, Dak has been hurt for sure. The calf has been bothering him. I think it's a really competitive wide receiver room, and reps are hard to come by for some guys. Reps are just hard to come by, right? And it's Shane Beamer pointed this out about a week ago. He said, whoever's practicing the best, that's who's going to get out there. And again, you hope to see Dak Joyner come back healthy. He can be a contributor. Again, you look at Xavier Legette, you look at Jalen Brooks, Amarian Brown. Like I said, I grouped them together in the preseason of those guys, like who's going to emerge out of that group. And it might be a different guy every single week. So, yeah, you'd love to get to Kerryon Joyner 110% fully healthy, get the football in his hands. I think this would be a game where maybe you have a drive that maybe for a drive he comes in as a quarterback play and, does some things at QB. I mean, if you need a spark, switch something up, why not? You know what I mean? I think you throw everything at Georgia you can. You don't leave the playbook unopened. I think you throw everything you got at him and see what happens. Josh Van, I have no clue. I mean, Josh Van, we're getting to the point you might want to put him on a milk carton. I don't know where he's been. I don't know if it's injuries. I don't know if it's something mental. I don't know if it's something off field. I don't know if he just – we saw him week 1. He dropped that ball over the middle, and I just felt like, man, like something doesn't seem right with Josh Van. I don't know what's going on, but something doesn't seem right. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what's going on, but, I feel optimistic that Josh Van will get it figured out because we saw him have so much success last year. It was in this game. It was in this game that he emerged and came into his own. So I mean, we all hope to see it, obviously, man. We all hope to see it for sure. Yeah, we all hope to see it. But I think Antoine Wells right now is obviously your go-to dude. He's the guy that you're going to be dependent on to make plays. So we'll see if that is the case yet again. Let's see. Dennis James, we want to see certain players make plays, Van and Bell, but if they aren't getting open, that's on them. They need to step up. Well, Dennis, and to that point too, let's also give credit to the fact, like, you don't think Georgia's keying in on taking those guys away? Like, they know we want to go to them. They know what Jaheim Bell can do. They know Jaheim Bell's a preseason all-conference guy. They know what Josh Van did to him last year. So, I mean, you want to get the ball to him for sure, and I think you have to create ways to get the ball. Like I said last week, Jaheim Bell, 0 catches. Just can't happen. I just can't happen. But, I also try to give credit that, like, I'm sure there are plays where they are trying to get the ball to those guys, and it's just not happening because of the defense and what they're doing. So, but you do have to find a way to get them the football. You have to. Luke RJ, we talked to all the running backs on this team in the offseason, how it'll be hard to get everybody the ball. Hopefully Carroll and CBS get some carries. I think Carroll wants to play running back. Yeah, I mean, I would think so too. I'm sure that's one of the reasons. I mean, I think Luke RJ, if he was happy with playing DB, he probably would have stayed at Georgia, right? I mean, I'd imagine he would have just stayed at Georgia. So, yeah, I think he obviously wants to play running back. Let's see. David Barnes, I just want to see Dak throw a TD to Rattler on a reverse pass. I wonder if we see any trick plays tomorrow. I mean, again, you have to throw it all out there at Georgia. You're not just going to line up and beat them. You're not just going to line up and beat them in their own game. You're not going to do it, right? I just let there be slam. Yeah. Which team do you think was more talented top to bottom? 2019 team that beat Georgia or the 2022 team? More talented top to bottom. Because what's so interesting about that, yes, that 19 team, right, went 4-8. That 19 team, though, had some NFL guys on it. J.C. Horn, Israel McQuamu, Javon Kinlaw, Ernest Jones. Like, that defense had some dudes on it. Offensively, you had Brian Edwards. Shi Smith, right, was still there, obviously. Shi Smith. I mean, I want to say the 22 team is better, but like I at this point, I guess I don't know. Like I'll say this: I think the 22 team is better. I don't know if there's more NFL guys on this team than that team, but I think the 22 team is a better college football team. Yes, and I think quarterback's a big difference, man. I mean, I think Helinski did all he could as a freshman, but I think I'd take that battle. Spencer Rattler going up against, And then, of course, Will Muschamp versus Shane Beamer. I mean, I feel like I've got to go with the 22 Gamecocks for sure. I think they're a better college football team top to bottom. But again, that 19 team, give them credit, had NFL guys on it. Had NFL dudes. It will take, again, to upset Georgia, yet again, it will take like an Israel McQuamu game from somebody. I mean, I don't know if it's Darius Rush or it's Cam Smith or Devontae Reed or who it is. Somebody's going to have that type of performance, though. Absolutely. Yeah, somebody will have to have that kind of performance. Again, guys, 843-790-3377. Phone lines are wide open. Phone lines are wide open as we sit here on this Friday. TGIF, I'll be heading down to Columbia here shortly. Very excited to get back in the City of Dreams. Very excited to see you all in the tailgate at Seawells tomorrow. Seawells tomorrow. We'll have towels. We'll have koozies for sale. Also, we'll have koozies and stickers to give away for free. Really looking forward to it. Jimmy Mendillo, any updates on injuries? Nothing definitive. Shane Beamer last night just saying that everybody he said was questionable on Tuesday is still questionable. So I don't know that really makes me feel any better that they'll play. I don't know. I don't know that that's the case. I don't know that I really feel better about it. I would imagine, let me just say this, because the notable ones are, of course, Cam Smith, R.J. Roderick, David Spalding, Alex Huntley, right? Those guys. I mean, I'd have to imagine at least one of them, right? At least one of them is not going to play, right? You got to imagine that. So at least. And you just hope and pray it's not. I mean, dude, if Cam Smith don't go, oh my goodness, that's a tall task. Just got even tougher, truly. A tall task got even tougher. So let's see. DGD, you're more than welcome to call in, my guy. If you want to talk some ball, you're more than welcome. You are more than welcome, DGD. I'd love to have you. Give us the Georgia perspective. Why not? Why not? Dude Raw for show texted in, by the way. He says this is Cornbread Cowboy. Go Cox. Appreciate you, Cornbread Cowboy. Legend you are. Dude Raw says it's going to be hard to drop back 3 steps against that defensive front. Indeed. Here we got another question or another comment. Caden Gibson, Birch and Pickens have to live up to the hype, and Rattler needs a Heisman performance to win tomorrow. I mean, you listen, Birch and Pickens have got to play well. I mean, they got to play really well. That entire defensive front's got to play well. That entire defense has got to play well. Rattler's got to play well. I mean, you're not going to beat Georgia and we're going to leave the game and say, well, we didn't play all that great. It's like, I mean, they're the number 1 team in the country for a reason, guys. They're loaded top to bottom. Again, it's like I've been saying. I picked 41-10. It's not even like an indictment on Carolina that I think we're just some 3-9 football team. We're terrible. Like, you have to put respect on Georgia. You have to. The way they've recruited, they just won the national championship. Right? So, I mean, they're a very good football team. Very good football team. Jeff Gullidge says, do you think some of the injuries are just to play mind games with Georgia? I mean, maybe. We've definitely seen gamesmanship. We've definitely seen it. I guess that's something coaches do. It is. I guess that's something. But, I mean, I can assure you Georgia's preparing like they're all going to play. So, what's the difference? But I guess any advantage you can get, you try to get it. Guys, we're going to go ahead and squeeze one last break in here, but I want to continue to hear from you more, your questions, comments, calls, and more on the other side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Final, God, I can't even spit it out. Final 7 minutes or so here on the Daily Crow, taking your questions, comments, calls, 843-790-3377. I wanted to show you guys this real quick, and I forget the exact name of the dude who made these, but had a fan of the show send me these. Want to say thank you. These coasters, if you can, the glare. Very, very cool stuff. So, thank you. I mean, I always appreciate it, again, when fans of the show send over gifts, and I mean, this is a really, really cool thing. It's solid for sure. So appreciate it. Anyways, guys, final 6 minutes. Your questions, comments, calls. Young Savage, what's up, man? How are you?
Not much, man. How about you?
Doing well. Appreciate you asking. What's going on?
Chris, can I ask you a question?
You called in, so you can do whatever you like. What's up?
I'm feeling uncomfortable right now because tomorrow is the day. Because I want to bury Muschamp for good.
Because of what with Muschamp?
Because I know Muschamp is just doing the one thing, because I know he's coming back to return to William Boyce Stadium for tomorrow and this afternoon. I think the game will be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, the game will definitely be uncomfortable if we get our asses kicked. So I hope that's not the case. Yeah, and there haven't been a whole lot of banter about Muschamp coming back. I didn't even talk about it really on the podcast that dropped this morning. I mean, it's notable, I guess, but he's whatever. He's on Georgia's staff. I don't know, how much of his coaching prowess plays into the game, but certainly something interesting for sure, intriguing about the game. So, yeah, I mean, listen, it could be an uncomfortable afternoon, Young Savage.
Because I feel very disappointed of him that he's not the best coach, and I cannot believe my own eyes that he's coming to return to the William Boyce Stadium. And to be fair, I don't want to see his face on camera on national television, because it will affect me, my view.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to leave him behind, though. They're not going to leave him behind.
This is why, because that's why I got a lot of questions to ask. I need answers. That why is Will is coming back to this day? Because people don't like Will Muschamp at all, because he left. He got fired 2 years ago, and I don't want to think about it, because I just got something down my chest. So Will Muschamp is the worst coach I ever seen in my entire life. And to be clear, Georgia, the Bulldogs, it's not it, because the Bulldogs ain't shit. Because we're going to beat them for sure. Because I know we're going to get our asses kicked, but we're going to kick Georgia's ass. So at the end of the day, you cannot come for us. You cannot come for Shane Beamer or Beamer's household in the stadium. And that is what it is. Because I got something to say on my chest. So guess what? We will beat them.
I love that, Young Savage. You got me ready to run through a brick wall.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it in that brick wall. Like, for real, I'm waiting for it so hard on their asses. Like I don't really don't give a fuck about it. And to be clear, I really don't want to see. I don't want to see his nigga ass face right now, because he's too old for me. He's too old. Boy.
Young Savage, I love it, man. Yeah, hey, listen, we're looking forward to kickoff, and I mean, fingers crossed, dude. I'm hoping and praying it'll happen.
We gotta play. We gotta play like it's promises.
Yeah.
We gotta win tomorrow afternoon, because I'm just waiting on that on this day. So I don't want to lose. I don't want Bill to be upset and sad, because I know myself is the judge bitch in the entire nationwide. Because look at Beamer. He's young and awesome and fantastic coach I ever seen in my entire life.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Young Savage, I appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, man.
Let's win. Go Cox.
Go Cox.
Hell with Georgia.
To hell with Georgia. Young Savage, take care, my guy. Appreciate you. Great stuff. Hey, he's picking the dub. Why not? You got me ready to run through a brick wall, my guy. I appreciate that. Guys, there's a couple minutes to go. Hey, appreciate y'all. Here, let's jump to the phone lines real quick.
Call from JTS2 Solutions. To accept, press 1.
What's going on? You're on the air. How are you?
What's up, man? Sun Tzu OG representing 864. How you doing, man? I've been meaning to catch up with the show, dude.
Yeah, I'm doing well.
A little bit, but
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. Just rocking. What's going on?
hell yeah, dude. Keep rocking, bro. That's what I want to hear, man. I like the positivity. And Young Savage, man, you keep kicking ass yourself, buddy. Like, you're the man. And I like somebody threw out some hate to Muschamp. I think that is awesome because I can't stand that guy, man. I pretty much almost quit watching Carolina football during that period, man. So, like, I don't know what he does. He holds the clipboard, I guess. But man, I gotta go and catch some of your past shows, bro. I've been missing you, man. I don't know if you know, I saw you out in front of the stadium, dude.
No, I remember that.
I was like,
I remember seeing you,
dude.
dude. I remember seeing you. Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was.
Like, that's the dude I told my girl.
Yeah, my brain's only going 1,000 miles an hour on game day, obviously, which is a good thing. But no, I remember seeing you for sure, man. It was great to meet you in person.
Oh, thanks for saying that, man. I love this. I was like, man, that's it. Dude. I was like, man, I wish I had a podcast. But yeah, I think you do a really great job, bud.
I appreciate that, man. Thank
Nothing
you.
but positivity for me, my man.
I appreciate that, man.
I don't know, like, really talking points. I really. I know you were closing the show, and I'm sorry. I always catch it late, man.
No, you
I
good?
was gonna say, I think Carolina is really good. Like, I went back and watched the offensive possession from last week, and I mean, I'm just a layman. I've never played football or anything, but I've been watching for like 30, 40 years or whatever. To have a quarterback, I mean, I just see we have such a talented quarterback, man. It's like, I just think we're a good team, man. I think we're going to finish 7-5, 8-5, 6-6. That would be bad, but that's the absolute worst. That's my opinion. I just think this. I think they're going to click, dude. And yeah. I guess that's all I got to say. But I put the spread. I'm going Carolina against the spread. It's up to 26, man. It's up to 26. Man.
I like it, man.
Carolina,
Hey, good teams win, great teams cover, my guy. Good teams win, great teams cover.
Yes, sir. And keep rocking and go Gamecocks. All right.
Sun Tzu, I appreciate you, my guy. Take care. Great stuff. Hey, great way to close out the show as well. Guys, just want to say thank you all so much, man. Another successful week in the books with the podcast, the Daily Crow, the merchandise, all the content. And thank you all so much, man. Those that show love, show support, appreciate y'all. Looking forward to tomorrow, less than 24 hours from kickoff. Going to be one hell of a time. Come on out, Seawells, spot 78. Like I mentioned, we'll have koozies, towels for sale, koozies and stickers to give away. Going to be one hell of a time. Guys, again, thank you all so much, man. I appreciate it. Truly, the love is more appreciated than you know. Let me just say that. Guys, appreciate it. Hey, y'all have a fantastic weekend. I'll leave you with this. Go Cox. To hell with Georgia. And we will talk to you on